What's up everybody, Captain Blade J52 again here today, and in this video we're going to be doing a follow-up to the video that I did previously on tanking here in STO for people that are looking to get started into this role within the game. Now, in the previous video I outlined some of the basic concepts such as what is tanking, in addition to showcasing a skill setup that I personally have found a lot of success with, in addition to also showing the two specializations that I use, as well as the gear setup and the bridge officer setup, and explaining why I use the things and why I have things set up the way that I do. Now, I'm actually going to recommend that if you've not seen that video, that you go ahead and watch that video first before you do this one. That way we can expand upon some of the different concepts that you learned in that video. Now, I'm going to include a link in the description down below or somewhere in this video in the form of an annotation for everybody, so you can go ahead and check that video out. But anyways, by no means are you required to do so. I just think it would be easier that way. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with this. What we're going to be doing first and foremost is I'm going to review and touch base on some concepts right quick. In addition to that, we're also going to be doing a Starbase 24 run to apply some of the different things that we've learned. Now, we're going to be using Starbase 24 because at any one time in that mission you can have on the final wave as many as 50 ships or more attacking you at once. Now, some people may prefer to use other maps such as the Hive Space map, and while that is a very good map for tanking, I personally don't think it's as effective as Starbase 24. And the reason I believe that is because obviously the amount of ships there that are present, and the fact that in Hive Space Elite you have to have a group with you. You can't go in solo. But anyways, with all of that in mind, both are great maps to test on. But first and foremost, let's review a couple of things. What is a tank? First and foremost, a tank in the traditional MMO sense is the person that runs into a group, runs into a room, and attracts the attention of all of the enemies, and makes sure that the enemies are attacking him or her instead of their team. Now, the tank also, in addition to making sure the enemies are attacking them, they also try to soak up as much damage toward themselves and concentrate that into one source, versus it being spread out amongst the entire team. Typically, the tank is the person that has the most defensive ability in the group, in addition to having a decent amount of damage as well, maybe some healing potential on top of that. Basically, the tank is the person that you really do not want to die, in addition to the healer. Now, traditionally in most MMOs, you have what they refer to as the Holy Trinity, which is the tanks, the healers, and then the damage dealers. In Star Trek Online, the lines between the Holy Trinity are very, very blurred, though it is still possible to play as one of the traditional three roles within the game. Now, as far as tanking itself goes, you want to have a decent amount of damage dealing ability and also a decent amount of survival. It is possible in the game to get too far into one side of the spectrum or the other. If you have quite a bit of damage dealing ability, but you don't have much survival, then it can get to the point that, yeah, you're able to crank out a ton of damage, but on the flip side, if something so much as sneezes in your direction, you die. On the flip side of that token, you can also get it to where you never die, but it takes you 40 or 50 or even 1,000 years to kill something, and that's no good either. So you want to have sort of a happy medium between the two. Now, getting into that, we're going to do a quick look at the skill tree setup that I use. As you can kind of see going through there, I didn't pick up the ultimate abilities. I did not pick up any one of them. As far as my personal tree goes, I for one don't think they're needed, and no offense to the developers or anybody, I think that the ultimate abilities in their current forms are actually red herrings. I don't think they're as good as they could have been, and as much as some people like to think that they are. Again, that is just my personal opinion. If you want to pick up an ultimate ability, feel free to do so. But it's my personal opinion, if you do try to pick up one of the ultimates as a tank, you're going to lose out on a lot of other abilities that you otherwise could be benefiting from. But as you can see there, just a quick overview: hull restoration, improved hull capacity. Go ahead and scroll down here. You can see my commander and captain set up there that I have, and then lastly the admiral. Now, one thing I am going to recommend that you pick up, obviously, is down here on these little unlocks you can pick up, is the threat control, because that's going to be additional threat that you're generating for free. Now, just as a quick reminder as to what aggro and threat is, the more threatening you are, threat being a stat generated by your weapon attacks and different abilities, the more threat you're cranking out, the more likely the boss or the enemy is to turn and attack you. So you want to make sure, if you're generating a lot of threat, that you have the ability to survive the extra incoming damage that's going to be coming your way. So that's the skill setup that I use personally. The two specializations I use are Pilot and Strategist. Now, the Pilot, one of the things to touch base on this really quickly again as to why I use that is, of course, the rock and roll ability. This is a nice little ability that you can use that will pretty much do a barrel roll with your ship. While that's going on, you are completely immune to damage, and you can see the tooltip there. That's one reason why I use that. I also like it for the thick of it damage immunity, and also the turn the other cheek ability. Whenever you max out turn the other cheek, it reduces damage to shields by 20% to the opposite shield facing that got hit. So if you get hit on the left side of your ship, this buff pops up on the right side. If you get hit on the right, this buff pops up on the left. Now, as I touched base on briefly in my first video, this ability may seem idiotic, but whenever you actually look at it and see what it's doing, it's actually a great thing to have. Now, this can be active on all four shield facings at one time, and that's the good thing with that. So that's why you're going to see me in some cases here in Starbase 24, I'll fly in a little bit of a circle around some of the enemies. That way I can guarantee all of my shield facings get hit. Then the other thing is the thick of it immunity, which procs off of turn the other cheek. When turn the other cheek becomes active on all four shield facings for 4 seconds, I get a damage immunity that can proc once every 30 seconds. So that's a reason why I use that, in addition to the Lone Wolf ability, which gives me a temporary defensive bonus, distributes shield facings for 10 seconds, and is a great way to guarantee that the enemies attack me by placating everything else and making me the only valid target. So, a couple of good things to that with the pilot specialization, but then Strategist, this is a secondary only. I'm still in the process of actually maxing out the Strategist tree, but from the testing that I did as one of the bug hunters on the Strategist tree on Tribble, it did very good. But anyway, you can kind of see some of the things there. One of the first things, logistical support 1, while threatening, gain 10% of incoming bridge officer or captain hull healing is temporary hull for 10 seconds, stacks up to 10 times. So, Strategist is good for the damage dealers and also for the tanks. It offers a different variety of buffs based on whether you're using threatening stance and whether you're not. But anyways, now that we've taken a look at that, let's go ahead and look at our ship. Now, one thing I do want to reiterate on that I touched base briefly on in the first video is that there is no set in stone best energy type, no matter what anybody says. If anybody tries to say that this is the absolute best energy type no matter what, then they are lying to you. Now, there are certain energy types that will lend certain benefits to certain builds that other energy types can't. Such as if you're trying to build a drain build, then you're probably going to want to go with the Polaron based weaponry because of the power drain that they have. That's as far as what is best for what ship. That's as far as it goes. Now, you can make pretty much any ship in the game into a tank. However, I personally believe that cruisers, or battle cruisers in some cases, have the best tank ability due to their hull rating, and also, of course, their ability to pick up more defensive abilities than ships such as escorts traditionally do, or even some science vessels. Now, I personally, as my flagship at the moment, am using a T5U Cardassian Galore. This comes out of the Cardassian lockbox and is kind of pricey on the exchange at the moment, but one of the things you wanted to look for on your ship is the mastery package that it comes with. Now this one is sort of the battlecruiser package. I get some kinetic and physical damage resist for free. I've got the rapid repairs ability. I've got the enhanced hull plating, which is more damage resist for free, and of course the armored hull, which is higher hull hit rating. As far as the energy type that I'm using Tetrion based weapons, so they can strip the shields a lot quicker. Then I have the 4-piece Kobali set. Now, one thing I will point out with the Kobali set is that unless you acquired the Kobali Samsar, you will not be able to get a hold of the Kobali Warp Core or the Regenerative Integrity Field Console. Now, in later videos, I will show some alternative tank builds to this one. However, this is my preferred tank build, is to use the Kobali 4-piece for the healing potential that it gives. Now, really quickly, again, we're going to look at the Kobali set itself, specifically the 4-piece is why I want to use the Kobali set for the reactive nanite screen. And it's on a 2-minute cooldown. When receiving energy damage, nearby allies receive hull healing equal to 20% of the incoming damage for 15 seconds. Now, this will heal you as well. That's one reason why I have it, is because of just how huge of a heal it can be. Then we also have the Regenerative Integrity Field Console. It gives us plus 26.6% hull healing, so it increases the amount of hull healing we can perform to ourselves. In addition to, whenever you activate it, it gives you a nice, quick burst of health whenever you need it that will increase up to a specified maximum whenever your health starts to dip. Then some of the other things that I have as far as our devices, if you did the Delta Recruit event, I couldn't think of it for a second, then you probably have a Temporal Negotiator. It's a quick little device, gives you a quick burst of cooldown reduction whenever you need it. Then I'm also using a Plasmonic Leech to help keep my power levels up. Again, you don't have to have a leech, but I like to have it just because it's a nice little bit of power. I'm also using the Tachyokinetic Converter, as it gives me some flight speed and damage increase, or flight turn rate I should say, in addition to some damage increases, and the Bioneural Infusion, because it gives me a little bit of extra hull capacity and some extra damage potential. Now these two consoles come from the Low-Buy store. They're 200 Low-Buy a piece. They can be quite pricey. If you can't get a hold of these consoles, there are different ones you can use in their place. But as far as a higher end tank build, this is what I have. Then I'm also, because I'm using Tetrion based weapons, I am using the Tetrion Sticky Web Console, the Universal. Now this also allows me to poof up a wall to sort of slow enemies down, such as in missions like Infected Space Advanced. Then we also have the Temporal Disentanglement Suite and the Krenim, if I could speak today, Temporal Manipulation Set. We've got the 2-piece of that in the form of the Omni Beam up there as well, so we can get this extra Tetrion damage boost. So that's an extra little thing we have there. Now, as far as my other science consoles, I'm using exotic particle focusers with Drain X and exotic particle generators as well. You can use the Embassy consoles that give plus threat if you want to. However, for my personal build, I've never had an issue, and I think that the exotic particle focusers do me a little bit better. But as another option to these, you do have the Embassy consoles in the form of the plasma exploders. As far as bridge officer stations, you can see them down here. Tactical, we have Tactical Team 1, Fire at Will 2, Omega 1. Again, Omega 1, offensively or defensively. On our commander, we have Engineering Team 1, Then directed energy, just as another something to fill the slot. Emergency to weapons, warp bubble, which will reduce a lot of damage depending on how many enemies we hit. Then second station, another engineering team, and a reverse shield polarity. To recharge our shields, we have hazard emitters, science team 1, and then feedback pulse 1. And then really quickly, just to see our traits again, ablative shell, beam barrage, give your all, helmsman, elusive, fleet coordinator, operative, beam training, point blank, last ditch effort. Starship traits, we have improved feedback pulse, reciprocity, peak efficiency, all hands on deck, and emergency weapon cycle. Then for our space rep, energy refrequencer, precision, enhanced armor pen, advanced target systems, and aux power offensive. For active reputation space stuff, we have quantum singularity manipulation, the biomolecular shield, and the refracting tetryon cascade. Now, those abilities in and of themselves, some of them, whenever you read the tooltip, you'll kind of understand why I use them. Then the last ability we have for our Kobali set is also the shield capacitor that is pretty much going to recharge your shields back to full whenever you use it. That's another reason why you want the Kobali set. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the tape for a moment. Then we're actually going to go ahead and step into a Starbase 24. You can see all of this in action. You can see for yourself how well it works, how well it does. But anyways, everybody, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to pause the tape, and we will be right back. Alrighty, folks. Now we're going to go ahead and apply some of the things that we've learned, and welcome to Starbase 24. Now we've got to clear out some ships first. We're going to go ahead and engage our space command, attract fire. If you have a cruiser with this ability, definitely use that because that's additional threat that does stack with threatening stance. So that's a good thing. Alright, now let's go in and alright, start clearing this stuff out. Now this first wave is mostly going to be fighters. There are going to be some escorts and some cruisers in here as well. Let's go ahead and clear all this out. And you can see kind of how my power levels are doing down there. Get a little bit closer, hit evasive. Get from spot to spot, and let's go over this way. Alright, we're going to go ahead and once we get to the big wave, once we clear out these ships that is, I'm going to pull up my screen so you can see how some of these buffs affect the stats of the ship itself. And normally this Galore sits at about 38 to 40% just sitting still. It'll go a good little bit higher than that, and about 76k hull with 13k shields. It'll go a lot higher once some of these buffs start kicking in. And there's our first cruiser. Alright, and smack these two in the face. Now one thing that does kind of suck about the first wave here in Starbase 24 is if you kill the enemies too fast, sometimes you'll have to wait on a few of them to respawn before you can continue on. Otherwise, I definitely do enjoy this mission. Alright, where's some more? Let's go ahead and smack this Nagvar. The real action isn't going to get started, and who is this? I'm going to assume that's a bug, as that person is not supposed to be here. Anyway, we'll go ahead and kill these. Yeah, I don't see anything, so I'm just going to assume that somebody got logged off of the map and everything. One of the things that it's actually a bit of a bug is that if somebody gets logged out or their game crashes during a map, if it kicks them out, sometimes they will momentarily zone in and appear to be on your map, although they've not actually joined the match. So that is one little thing that I've seen before. Doesn't come up too often, but it is something that can occur, and that's what's occurred here. Come on. That's one little thing you will want to watch out for if you come in here, are the bioneural warheads. Those can be quite a bit of a pain if a lot of them hit you at once. Go smack these ships. Alright, now once this group dies, we're going to hit our final wave of ships, and this is when it's really going to start getting interesting, folks. Alright. Now this is where the test begins. As you can see here, there's a lot of ships spawning. This is where it's really going to hit the fan, as the saying goes. Let's go ahead and gather a big bunch of them. As you can see, we're already starting to take some hits. A nice, good tactical burst. It's a good time to throw a warp bubble to reduce some of the damage coming in. And apparently I got stuck in the starbase. There we go. And go ahead and throw Lone Wolf. And throw our Kobali heal. And, oh, getting a little low on the health there.
Hull integrity below 25%. Target's shields have failed.
And, yep. Well, it's bound to happen a time or two whenever you're tanking. If you've not died at least once, you're not doing it right, in my personal opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead, and you can see just how long we actually did last against all of those ships. Let's re-engage threatening stance, try to slip by that guy if we can. Get back to that big wad of ships. And come on. Hopefully they don't all run a cloak by the time we get there. Alright. There's a few of them, so let's go ahead and open this up. Now the objective is as far as to what you're trying to kill in here. You're looking to kill 20 of the Negvars. That's what it's considering a battleship. Let's see if I can gather a few more of them up for us. Make us a little bit more interesting anyway. Now you want to use your warp bubble if you pick up the ability whenever you're in the middle of a bunch of them. That way you reduce as much damage as possible incoming. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna have to throw that now. As you can see, it's getting pretty interesting, so let's do that, and boom. Now, it may seem counterproductive to throw the quantum manipulation, but the key thing about quantum manipulation is if you still, well, you can still fire while it's going on, but if you're cranking out enough damage and threat anyway, you're going to overcome the threat losses. And just so we can stay on the move. And Nimbus Pirates, just because why not? As you can see here, things are starting to explode a little bit more now. Alrighty, now you can see on some of the stats there, we've lost a couple of the buffs, but let's go ahead and get this rolling. Alright, you can see our hull maximum is going up.
Target's shields have failed.
You can see just how high we can actually get this. Anyways, you can kind of see there a little bit of what it does. I have seen this shoot as high as 120k.
Target's shield.
That was, of course, on the triple testing. I've not entirely maxed it out yet, but there we go. We broke 100k hull. Can kind of see it there. But yeah. Anyway, you can kind of see what we're working with.
Shields failing.
So I'm going to minimize this window again so I can see what I'm doing.
Have failed.
Now you will occasionally see little Federation escorts trying to shoot some stuff as well in here. And let's go nab this big group back here as well, just because I'm feeling adventurous.
Target's shield. Right shield failing. Hull integrity below 75%. Rear shield failed. Left shield. Rear shield failed. Targets have failed.
Alright, one more Negfar, and then we can wrap this up and call it a video. And there you have it, folks. You can see just how effective this build actually is, and you can see just what we can do whenever we actually do decide to start tanking. Now, my build is just one of the many tank builds out there. I'm by no means the best tank in the game, but as you can see, my ship can take quite a bit as well. But anyways, this is some of the things that we applied. You could kind of see when we used certain abilities and everything. You could see whenever our shields were starting to dip on one side, I might use the tactical team to kind of keep them distributed. If they were getting low all around the ship, I would throw the reverse shield polarity. You could see when I used the Kobali heals that we had, whenever I would use the Temporal Negotiator and the rock and roll abilities. So you kind of see everything applied, hopefully anyway. So I realize there's probably going to be a little bit of video lag. Hopefully it's not going to be super extreme due to me having my recording software up and being in a fight like this at the same time. But anyways, folks, this is Captain Blade J52 signing off.